Okay, thank you for joining us. This is the Deschutes County Administrator Finalist Community Forum. This is a Zoom session. We also have live video, and it's recorded for after the fact also. My name is Tony DeBone. I'm currently the chair of the Deschutes County Commission, the Board of Commissioners made up of 3 elected officials. And the county administrator position is the CEO, the county administrator for the whole organization. This is an opportunity for us to share and for the public to get to know Nick Lelak, and he's the finalist for this important position this year. There is Spanish interpretation available, and it's at the globe setting in Zoom. Select Spanish as the language. American Sign Language interpretation is also available, and I see she's doing a good job with a big smile on her face there. This forum is recorded for later viewing, as I mentioned, and available on the county's social media channels after the fact also. The website is deschutes.org/administrator. During this session, questions can be submitted during the community forum live, and it's 6 o'clock on Monday night, May 17th. For the live session, you can send emails to info@deschutes.org. We will be checking those real time. Submitted questions may be reviewed and included as time allows. This all started with the announcement of our county administrator, our current county administrator, retiring in September of 2021. So the process was begun. So one of the interesting statements in the history of Deschutes County, in 1978, it was converted from 1 judge and 2 commissioners to 3 commissioners and a strong administrator position, 1978. And there's been 3 administrators since. So now at this time we are recruiting for the 4th administrator in that long period of time. So the search began at the new year this year. We communicated, gathered public comments about the process. We're using our human resources group here at Deschutes County to really put the advertisement together, do a national search, and provided first-round interview opportunities after cutting down all the applicant pool. And at this time, we are proud to say that we are advancing our current Community Development Director, Nick Lelak, as the top finalist that has really stood out in this impressive group of applicants. So this is our process for today. At this time, we're going to hand it off to Nick for an introductory statement, opportunity for your personal introduction at this time.
Good evening. Thank you, Commissioner DeBone. Welcome, everyone. I am honored to be the finalist for the county administrator position and pleased to introduce myself this evening as well as answer your questions. As you mentioned, I currently serve the county as the Community Development Director, and I serve the state on the Land Conservation and Development Commission as the Eastern Oregon representative. These positions are genuinely rewarding to me as I am able to contribute to improving people's lives and protecting the places that we value. Well, let's step back for a minute. I grew up in the Willamette Valley, frequently visiting Central Oregon with my family and hoping, as so many people do, to make it home one day. And I'll get to that point in just a moment. My entry into public policy and public service first occurred when I attended Willamette University. I worked at the Oregon State Capitol and Visitor Services just across the street as a tour guide, and I just thoroughly enjoyed learning about our state's history, our government, politics, so much about our state, and then sharing that with visitors and residents alike who visited our Capitol. My first job then after working at the Capitol and graduating from Willamette was with U.S. Senator Bob Packwood in his Washington, D.C. office, first as an intern and then as a legislative correspondent. This was my one of my many experiences actually as a boomerang Oregonian, where I would leave and return for the next 15 years until our family made Deschutes County our home in 2005. In Washington, D.C., I met my wife-to-be, Alyssa, Next month, we will celebrate our 27th wedding anniversary, and I would not be a finalist for this position without her. And I cannot thank her enough for her support and wisdom throughout my career. We have 2 boys. We raised our boys here in Bend. Both graduated from Bend High, and we're very fortunate that they're back in Bend after having some boomerang experiences themselves, working, going to school out of the state and coming back. I'm interested in serving as our next county administrator to lead our organization as we address truly historic times and issues, and I'll just mention 4 from my perspective. Number 1 is recovering from the pandemic that we're experiencing, supporting our families, our businesses, and our communities as we collectively recover from the pandemic. At the same time, we need to think about our own county's operations and the services that we provide and how we provide those services in a post-pandemic world, as many organizations are considering how they're going to operate in the new post-pandemic world. Number 2, our rapidly growing population and all of the associated impacts, including infrastructure. Our housing and homeless crisis. It's extraordinary, and this has to be one of our top priorities going forward as a community, as a region, as a state, and as a country. And 4th, disaster preparedness, and primarily from the increasing threats of wildfire. I will briefly share my qualifications for the position through the lens of the Board of County Commissioners' 3 priorities for this position, beginning with effective organizational leadership. For the past 20 years, I've served in leadership positions in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors, including 3 years, just over 3 years with the City of Redmond, and since 2009 with Deschutes County. My approach to effective leadership is based on the following principles. First and foremost, most importantly, is integrity, strong ethical standards, professionalism, respect for everyone, and a genuine commitment to customer service. We must set a high bar as public officials in how we perform our work. Second, I embrace and have established a culture of innovation and creativity in our community development department. It is so important in how we solve problems, and how we deliver our services, and how we address future planning efforts for our county. And it's more important now than ever with the historic times and issues that we're facing. Third, providing and communicating a strategic plan for how we're going to deliver the services on an annual and several-year basis. I achieve this in our community development department with our annual work plan, which, if anybody's interested, is available on our website. And the basis of the work plan every year is it begins with the Board of County Commissioners' annual goals and policies, public input, which is always very important, and the regulatory responsibilities that we have in our department. We then determine how we're going to achieve those goals and objectives and priorities and community interests through a series of projects and services. We allocate the resources necessary and encourage teamwork and collaboration to achieve those projects throughout the year, and then we measure those results. And not only do we measure those results, but we also publicize and report those results to the Board of Commissioners and to the community. The outcome is a high-performance organization. Fourth is community engagement and partnerships, and this is the second category that the board has determined to be important for the next county administrator. Community engagement and partnerships are essential to making good decisions, providing effective and efficient public services, and building relationships at the state level to advocate for our county. I'll provide just a couple of brief examples. One, with service delivery with partnerships. In our community development department, we are a one-stop shop for development services. What most people don't know is that a couple of those services we provide are directly from the state of Oregon. We are agents of the state with our building safety services, as well as our on-site wastewater services. Most people refer to it as septic services. That requires close collaboration and a partnership with the state of Oregon to ensure that we're correctly and accurately administering their programs in our departments to the benefit of our customers. In terms of advocacy, at the state level, partnerships, coalitions, collaboration with a lot of organization is absolutely essential to successfully working with lawmakers and state agencies to ensure new laws, regulations, grants, and funding programs benefit our residents. One example that we have right now is a coalition that we're participating in on compromise legislation to allow rural accessory dwelling units. This has been a 3-year effort. Creating these and sustaining these partnerships and collaboration with these organizations does not happen overnight. It takes a lot of time and effort and resources to do so. Now to community engagement. And of course, this is the essence of public service, is engaging those we serve in all of our work. Our department excels in this regard, and I am so genuinely proud of the work that we do. It's worthy of a standalone presentation, in fact, I think. And we engage our public in the work plan, which I think we're one of the only organizations to engage the public in developing a work plan on an annual basis. But there's so much more that we do, and 2 recent examples really highlight both the creativity and innovation as well as our public engagement. And this is really to the credit of our team and our staff. And these were the 2 recent virtual town halls, or series of town halls that we conducted. The Planning Commission hosted. We conducted community surveys, significant outreach, and probably the best attendance that we've had on long-range planning projects in the last dozen or more years. One focused on wildfire hazard mitigation standards, and the other on updating our wildlife habitat inventory. Just terrific participation. Another way that we engage the public is we meet regularly with stakeholder organizations, and it's so important for us to share information about what we're working on, as well as inviting feedback from those organizations on what's working well and what's not, so we can address those issues. Some of those organizations, the Central Oregon Builders Association, Central Oregon Association of Realtors, and Central Oregon Land Watch. We meet on a regular basis. I do want to emphasize before going to the last point, while I think we are excelling in all these areas, we can and need to do more to involve more members of our community in our work. Third and the final category, and I'm sure I'm just about out of time, is sustainable budgetary leadership. And this is especially important for the county administrator who serves as the county's budget officer. Our county is in solid financial shape, and so there's a lot of what we're doing that is working now that we need to sustain going forward. And some of it is basic. The budget is a reflection of our county's priorities, and we can't forget that. That is the foundation of our budget document. Number 2 is a transparent and open public process in creating our budget, where the public can watch, participate. They know exactly who's making the decisions, when, and how. It's very, very important. In fact, I think last year was the first year we live streamed the budget meetings, and I hope that continues in the future so the public can see. There are many other elements to good financial decision-making and management. Earning and sustaining a strong credit rating, reducing our county's debt, long-term financial planning such as our PERS Reserve Fund, auditing our spending, and I'm very pleased to serve on our county's audit committee as appointed by the Board of Commissioners, and more. As a department head, I'm responsible for sustainably managing our nearly $10 million a year annual budget and monitoring its success. Our department is in solid financial shape going forward. And I have many, many thanks to our senior management analyst for her work and is supporting me and our department in that regard. I am out of time. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Nick. So at this time, we are going to transition to a question and answer period based on questions posed by the community. As I say, let's take a moment. There's also the opportunity, well, this is a live event recorded this evening. If there's anybody that is interested in sending a question right now, you can send it to info@deschutes.org. They will be reviewed and included as time allows. So we're going to go through a few questions that have been prepared by some input just recently. So the first one I'm going to be reading through, and this is the topic of financial stewardship. Central Oregon is seeing unprecedented growth, which is expected to continue over the next decade and beyond. In order to effectively serve the community, the county will need to prepare to flex and expand to meet the needs of our growing population while continuing to demonstrate good financial stewardship. How will you apply your experience and background to help prepare and facilitate such change?
this is a really important issue, especially as we continue to grow, and it's not just population growth, but our demographics are also changing significantly. And with the change in our demographics will come new demands and new service requests that we're going to need to consider as an organization, and how we're going to fund and how we're going to provide those services. New and different services likely to our expanding and changing population on many levels. Certainly my experience over the last decade or so in the Community Development Department is that we need to make sure that we are able to adequately fund the services we're providing. And we do so through a variety of sources. In some cases, we have fees that help provide those resources. Sometimes it's the general fund, it's state grants. In some cases, it's internal service contracts that we're providing for services. And we're going to need to continue to look for a variety of funding sources in order to support the needs of our growing population. I think we're doing a good job with most of those now, but I think we're going to need to be creative and innovative as we go forward. And I'm sure we're going to need to address and think about some of these issues differently. Yeah, certainly in the short term, there's the American Recovery Plan, the ARP monies that we'll be able to utilize to meet some of these needs in our community, in our region, but we know those aren't going to be sustained. So we're going to need to really think about how we provide those services over the long term. Certainly, I look forward to working closely with the Board of County Commissioners, our Budget Committee, our Finance Department, our Chief Financial Officer, Greg Munn, and his team as we collectively think about how best to finance these services going forward. We need to be, we have to make sure that we have the resources necessary to provide the services in order to be fiscally prudent and fiscally responsible going forward.
Great, thank you very much. Next question is provided by Sherry Pinner.
Thank you, Commissioner DeBone. My name is Sherry, and I'm a Senior Management Analyst at the Community Development Department. My question focuses on vision and strategy, and the question is, what is one lasting impact you hope to leave on Deschutes County?
Thank you, Sherry. I just had credited Sherry with her great budget work in our department, and I was not aware that she was going to be asking a question. It's nice to see you. One lasting impact I hope to leave on Deschutes County. I think there's many lasting impacts I hope to leave on Deschutes County, and I hope it is that people see us as supporting our community, supporting our residents, supporting our businesses thrive. In every way possible, through our customer service standards that we hold in such high regard, and that people come to the county knowing that we're going to do everything we can to help and to provide the best service possible, so that they leave with a great experience with the county. A lot of as we know, a lot of people only have their interactions with the county maybe when they vote or when they pay their taxes or they go to the landfill. And wherever they're coming and whoever they're visiting, I genuinely hope that they have a great experience. And we certainly in the Community Development Department, and I see it throughout the county organization, provide just outstanding customer services. And I think we go the extra mile. And I hope that people remember that I was a part of that culture. And that it's sustained over time.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you very much. So another question provided to us, and I'll be asking it. As a taxpayer whose money goes to fund Deschutes County's government, it is important to me that the organization's employees, leadership, oversight, and governance at all levels is reflective of our community's growing socioeconomic, racial, cultural, and political diversity. Do you share this priority? And if so, what tangible steps will you take towards achieving these goals?
I absolutely share this priority and this perspective, and this goes directly to the statement that I made when I was discussing our community engagement and how I think we're really excelling in this regard. But there's so much more that we need to do. So this question just allows me to expand on that a bit. There are many people, of course, in our county that do not participate in our processes for one reason or another. And it is so important that we reach out to them in ways that are meaningful to them, in places where they're comfortable in participating in our local government. That is so critical. In my role on the Land Conservation and Development Commission, I'm currently serving as a liaison to a committee that is considering how we need to change our business practices to better involve historically marginalized and vulnerable populations in the important decisions that we make every day. We're midway through that process right now. I don't have the answers. I wish I did. The committee is a really diverse committee. I look forward to listening to them and learning from them through that process, and then bringing those experiences back to Deschutes County and doing the very, very best that we can to engage all members of our community in our processes. So tangible steps, one of the tangible steps is really taking the lessons learned from that process and employing those in Deschutes County, but not just a one-size-fits-all. We really need to understand the populations that are being underserved or are vulnerable populations in our county that we're not serving as well as we could or should or don't have the accessibility to services, and finding out how best to do that. We work closely with our communications director on a regular basis to continuously employ new strategies to reach people, to do everything from, for example, we have a vacancy on our Planning Commission in southern Deschutes County. How can we reach all segments of the South County residents so that we really broaden and expand the potential for somebody to participate and serve on our Planning Commission representing that region? I think this is going to be a very, very, if I had a fifth, I mentioned four points earlier. If there were a fifth one, this would certainly be on that list of the top 5.
Great, thank you very much. At this time, we're going to, I'm going to hand off for a question. I'm not sure exactly who at this time.
Trigby.
Looks like Trigby Bolkin may be next. Here we go.
Hi, this is Trigby. I work in human resources with Deschutes County. The topic of this question is growth and transportation. The question is, it was submitted anonymously. The City of Bend and ODOT are both pursuing initiatives related to increasing infrastructure for non-motorized transportation, both within the City of Bend and connecting to other areas within the county. What role do you see for the county in terms of leading or supporting such work?
This is a timely question. Very timely, and I hope people participate in the projects that we're currently engaged in. One, probably the most important, is the updating of our county's transportation system plan, led by our county's road department, Chris Doty and his team, consultant team, and our department, our senior transportation planner, and others. So that's going to be our umbrella document for how we think about how we support increasing infrastructure for non-motorized transportation options throughout the county. Very, very important there. Another one is that we have a state grant to initiate a project for creating a Sisters Rural Trails Plan throughout Sisters Country. We're coordinating closely with the City of Sisters, the Sisters Vision Implementation Team, and primarily the U.S. Forest Service, because a lot of the lands in the Greater Sisters Country and Greater Sisters area are in U.S. Forest Service ownership. So really partnering with the City of Sisters and the U.S. Forest Service on that project. And that project could then become a model for how we then create rural trails connecting our cities, our resorts, our significant places of interest around the county going forward. Another group, a really active group, and there is our Deschutes Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, really committed citizens, dedicated citizens to this issue, and I think really listening to their recommendations going forward. They're very thoughtful, and it's great because they're a mix of urban and rural residents from all across our county. So I definitely think there's an important role for us to play. And when we think about non-motorized transportation, certainly there is the transportation element of it, but there's also the recreational element of it. It can serve multiple needs. And I mentioned the Forest Service, but certainly the BLM is also very important. All of our public partners are really important to this effort. So I think there are multiple roles that our county can play. And again, for those that are interested, get involved. Get involved now with our TSP, our Transportation System Plan Update. I believe we have a website on that, and a lot of public hearings and public engagement forthcoming on that. So get involved and make a difference.
Call to action. And who might be next?
Next, we're going to hear
I believe
from.
that's me. My name is Jason.
Okay,
I
Jason,
work
got
at
it.
Deschutes County Human Resources, and I am asking a question anonymously submitted by a Deschutes County employee on the topic of innovation. It is a three-part question, technically. The county is a large organization with many moving parts. What are two areas where you believe the county excels? What is your strategy for managing change and developing innovative solutions? And how will you promote a culture to support your strategy?
I started to answer this question briefly in my opening remarks by establishing a culture of innovation and creativity, and I think that's really, really important. The culture, it means that our staff know that their opinions are valued, and often our staff have the best answers to those. So let me back up and answer the questions directly here. What are two areas you believe the county excels in? I've mentioned customer service, that I think we provide exceptional service to our customers, and the second is in financial management. I think we're in a very solid position going forward. In strategy and managing change and developing innovative solutions. Again, I think that what's going to be important there is having the mindset and the openness to consider new ideas, new alternatives for how we address the historic times and issues that we're currently facing on so many levels. And I don't think we probably even know the half of what is to come in the years ahead of the changes we're going to need to adapt to. It's going to take collaboration and partnerships. As I mentioned previously, we currently work with our stakeholder organizations to find out what's working and what's not. I think it's important with them, with our stakeholder organizations, with our residents, to exchange information. This is what we're thinking might be a good approach to a problem or to a plan or to a service, and to gain their feedback prior to launching that service. Pilot projects can often work very well in employing new technologies or new approaches to projects, absolutely involving our employees. Our employees are the foundation of our department. They're often the one that have the direct interaction with our customers, administer the services and operations, and inviting their feedback throughout the process. It's not just a culture of innovation, but it's also really making sure that they understand that their opinions are valued, and suggesting changes to how we provide business, how you promote a culture to support your strategy. It's having those meaningful conversations. It's meeting regularly with stakeholders. It's meeting regularly with our staff. And making sure that they know and they feel comfortable to suggest the changes, and that we celebrate those ideas, and we do the same with the community. Going back to our community development department's annual work plan, it makes such a difference when we invite the public in creating that work plan every year. The public has great ideas that at the staff level that we haven't thought about, or the board hasn't thought about, or the planning commission hasn't thought about, and inviting those comments and thoughts, and then we collectively evaluate those, and those that make the most sense and have the most support, we include in the work plan, and then we deliver those results. So, yeah, I think it begins with the culture. And a very supportive culture of creativity and innovation, and then executing that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to ask the next question. I'm Whitney Hale. I'm the county's communications director, and I have a two-part question as well related to the pandemic and pandemic response. How has COVID-19 challenged you to think differently about the problems facing the county and solutions needed to solve them? What does the county need to do to ensure our community perseveres and thrives once the pandemic is over?
This is a big question and a very timely question, and I think we're all trying to figure this out right now. Certainly, it's challenged my thinking about the problems that are facing our county. Certainly, people's preferences in where they live and how they work is changing dramatically. It's all over, of course, our local press that we're a Zoom town, and I think that's broadly defined as a Zoom county and a Zoom region, as people are moving here in just truly extraordinary numbers, and then the associated impacts on housing. And a lot of that is created by the people's ability to work remotely. Or it's people can work remotely a few days per week, and then they need to be in another office a few days per week. And we already experienced this. This isn't, I think it was Katie Brooks with the Ben Chamber mentioned this in the bulletin back in February, that many of these transitions that we were beginning to see in our economy and our community and our preferences were already occurring, and they were already occurring in Deschutes County. It's just that the pandemic has accelerated those changes. And I think we need to understand what that means for our housing supply. There will have associated impacts on our transportation systems. Certainly it could lead to a lot more people moving here, and then associated impacts on our airports, the Bend Airport, the Redmond Airport, Sun River Airport, Sisters, and others. What do we need to do to ensure our community perseveres and thrives once the pandemic is over? I think we need to work together to find what those solutions are. I certainly don't have those answers at this point. I think as a county, as we think about our operations as we go forward, certainly most of our employees, I shouldn't say most, but a lot of our employees are working remotely now. We've learned that they can provide outstanding services and are very efficient working remotely, and I think that's something we need to think about going forward. In our community development department, for example, we're reaching almost the pre-Great Recession staffing levels that we previously had. It was 78 employees. Now we're almost up to 66, and we were so constrained. But we weren't just constrained in our building at that point, because we had very robust satellite offices where we don't have those now. Well, one option to saving money going forward may be to have employees share workstations, to have employees who enjoy and appreciate working remotely, or who need to work remotely due to childcare or other factors. I think there's a lot of things that we're going to need to think about how we do differently. And then the associated impacts. Do we need as much parking everywhere if not everybody is driving all the time? That's not to say we don't need parking. We absolutely do. But what are those associated transportation and parking related impacts as we go forward? So a lot of questions there, and I certainly don't have all those answers, and I think it's going to take community conversations, working closely with our Board of Commissioners and others to determine how our community will persevere and thrive once the pandemic is over. The last thing I will say is we're planning to update the Deschutes County Comprehensive Plan beginning later this calendar year, and that could be a very, very important point that we address with the community. What are those issues that we need to address? Housing, jobs, transportation, so many of those issues, and engaging the community in that process so we can think holistically and comprehensively about what those issues are, and inviting really meaningful impact from the community on how we address those together.
Thank you very much. Next, yes.
Sarah, I think we're ready for you.
Oh, great. Sorry. Hi, my name is Cara, and I'm the administrative manager at the District Attorney's Office. And I have an anonymously submitted question for you today regarding housing. And the question is, housing supply shortages and increased homelessness are both rising regional concerns. How can Deschutes County work with the community to help address this?
Yeah, this is such an important issue, and it's just as the pandemic is accelerating people's preferences in how and where they live, so too is the escalation that we're experiencing in housing prices and the associated impacts on homeless and everybody else is just extraordinary. Deschutes County already plays a very significant role in addressing homelessness and housing supply shortages. So let me just mention a couple. One is the Veterans Village that's about to open here in fairly short order. And as the county initially began to explore how to create such a village and modeled that based on what Clackamas County and the city of Eugene and others have done, I was really privileged and fortunate to have visited those so I could share my experiences with the Board of Commissioners and our community partners and how we might create a similar Veterans Village here. Now, I haven't been involved with it since then. That's really been our property manager, Bent Heroes, Eric Tobias, and so many champions that have just been extraordinary. But the county's played an important role as that's on county-owned property. The county regularly has donated land for affordable housing projects. Most recently, a very significant project called Skyline Village in the city of Redmond, which is the public hearing for the Board of Commissioners is scheduled for May 26th to consider an urban growth boundary expansion to include that property with, I think it's over 400 units. I don't recall the exact number, but a very significant number of housing units to be developed there, many of which are going to be dedicated and required for mixed income or various income thresholds that people will need to earn to qualify to live there. So the board has really been a leader there. But that's not just there. The Board of Commissioners has donated land in the city of La Pine to Housing Works and Neighbor Impact, Habitat Humanity, and others. So land donations have been a significant one. We created a rural housing strategy just a couple of months ago that really outlined a range of options for our county to consider. We're currently implementing 2 of those, one of which is to advocate for rural accessory dwelling units in the legislature, which I previously mentioned, which appears close to passage. It's now scheduled for a work session here on May 20th, coming up in just a couple of days, and then hopefully adoption by the legislature shortly thereafter, since the session ends soon. So supporting rural accessory dwelling units, which could provide another source of housing. And then another one that the board has directed our department to work on, and we're currently creating the white paper on it right now, a research paper, is studying managed camping. We've often thought of this as campgrounds, RV parks, manufactured home parks. What are the opportunities today? What are the opportunities in state law? Are there any gaps? If there are gaps, how do we bridge those gaps? And then if we are employing all possible solutions, what are the next steps we need to take that we need to take at the county level, going back to the community engagement and partnerships? What coalitions do we need to build at the state level to then change state laws to provide more opportunities? So there are a variety of things that our county is currently involved in, and there's more that we can do, and there is more that we are doing right now. And then stay tuned. If the rural accessory dwelling unit bill passes, we'll have a very significant community engagement on that later in the summer and into the fall.
So there is a kind of a live input question here, and it's along these same lines. Do you think the Bend Village project helps or hurts the quality of life of the citizens of Bend? So a little bit, you could read into that question. So this is just a follow-on question, but the quality of life for these different types of housing that we're talking about.
I think transitional housing is absolutely critical, and I think it improves the quality of life. Now, the people that live immediately around it may have a different opinion, and I think it's really important that we work with those neighbors to understand their perspectives and their issues and concerns, and then we attempt to mitigate those to the extent that we can. Are there buffer areas? Is there landscaping? Is there fencing? Are there operating rules within the Bend Village to make sure that the operations are conducive? Because I think it's at this point, I think it's 15 transitional housing, but that's 15 homes for people that are currently homeless or don't have housing or are houseless, meaning that they're living in a car or van or something like that. And to provide that shelter gives these people a place to get back on their feet and get back into the community. And the idea is it's transitional housing. It's not permanent residence. Now, the village may be permanent for at least a period of 10 years, but I absolutely believe that it improves the quality of life for our region, while recognizing there are some impacts for some of those that live immediately around it. Yeah.
Community conversations.
Thank you. Exactly.
Discussed, yeah. Whitney.
And I'm going to jump back in with another question that was submitted by staff. The newly hired county administrator will hire several new department heads based on retirements. If hired as county administrator, what characteristics would you look for in a department head, and how would you ensure the best candidate is hired?
So ensuring the best candidate is hired, I think it's very important to have a process similar to what we're currently experiencing that I'm experiencing with this recruitment. I certainly think our department heads, especially with Deschutes County, we're a leader in so many things statewide and nationally. It deserves a national recruitment. We really need to cast a wide umbrella to make sure that we hire the very best candidate through an inclusive process. So the inclusive process should be panels that include community members as well as staff, stakeholder members, that we have a thorough vetting of the candidates. Very important. And then, of course, as the county administrator, I would work very closely with the Board of County Commissioners to make sure that the selected candidate or the finalists of the candidate are committed to implementing the Board of Commissioners policies going forward. Characteristics. We need people that are going to be customer service oriented. They're going to be experts in their field. They're going to be innovative and creative in how we tackle problems. I'd like to say that they need to be able to hit the ground running because everything happens fast in Deschutes County, it feels like, but we need quality over just speed. So I think those are some of they're going to need to be able to connect with people in our region and understand the values. We always invite external perspectives and opinions, but just also making sure that those opinions and values also respect those that we share here in Central Oregon and in Deschutes County.
Great, thank you very much. So at this time, another question provided to us. What do you think Deschutes County residents don't quite understand about how their county government operates? If you could dispel one misnomer, what would that be?
I like this question because I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand what county governments do. A lot of people have a good understanding of what cities do. They live in cities. They see the full range of city services. And there's less of an understanding about a county. And I think one area that people have learned a whole lot about in the last 15 months is the public health services that our county, that all counties provide, including the mental health services. So I think public health, unless people are directly involved and engaged in those services, I don't think a lot of people have an awareness and an understanding. And I can certainly say, even as a county staff person, I've learned a lot about our public health and mental health services and our department this past year. I've had the opportunity to work with them on other projects, but I've learned so much more for them this past year. They probably also don't recognize that how many services that we share with other organizations and why our partnerships are so important and why the commissioners have really prioritized community engagement and really that partnership piece is so important. As most people probably have a sense, 76% of Deschutes County is in federal ownership. So we need to have a strong partnership with the federal government in order to meet our residents' many needs, be it from wildfire mitigation, recreation. There's so many different issues with the federal government. The fact that most of our residents live in cities, the partnerships with our cities is critically important. All the different funding mechanisms that fund all of our services. The health department is certainly the perfect example with the state funding for so many services. Our road department, some people may not understand that it's not just funded by SDCs and the gas tax, but there's a lot of other state funding that supports our road department. I think there's a lot that our residents likely don't understand. If I could dispel one misnomer, what would that be? I don't know what that misnomer might be. I don't have a good answer to that question. Maybe it's just in our world, in community development, a lot of people think they don't understand that a lot of the rules and regulations that we're administering are established in state law. Some parts of our department, we're agents of the state. In other parts of our department, we're administering state law, but we have a lot of local discretion. The state has a lot to do with how counties operate and the rules and regulations that we administer, particularly in our community development department. And so while they may not like the regulation that they're required to comply with in the community development department, we can certainly inform them of where it's come from, what it's intended to address, and how they might comply with it. And at the same time, share with them that this isn't or wasn't a county decision, but rather we're implementing a state requirement.
Thank you very much. So at this time, we have been working through our finalist in our county administrator recruitment process. This is our community forum. We've had some interaction from the community. We've had some questions provided beforehand, read by some different folks in our staff. This is being recorded. I would ask that please share this process with whoever may be interested in learning about the county administrator recruitment, but also the role and function of your county government also. So please share with your friends and family. We do want to hear from you. A survey is available. There's a website, deschutes.org/administrator. There's a link to a community forum and survey. So if there's any feedback, any questions, please communicate directly with us through that process. And the survey will be open until May 25th. So Nick Lelak, thank you very much for joining us this evening for our community forum and this recruitment process.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.